for facilities and operations up here in Providence, Rhode Island at Brown University. I've been here, I'm going into my 8th academic year here, so 8th pending obviously sports and what's happening here with the pandemic. But I started out, I actually started kind of working at Johnson & Wales when I was a student. I was a student athlete trying to just make some part-time money, and got a job in the department working in the equipment room, washing uniforms, and actually enjoyed being around it, working events. And that kind of what sprung me into a whole, collegiate athletics, the idea to work in collegiate athletics. And, sports entertainment event management was the program I was in. I just had no idea what I was really wanted to do. And I ended up, I wanted originally work in stadiums and arenas, did some internships, since professors were pushing that and to get experience, realized it was not the area for me very quickly. I mean, I enjoyed it for a couple of summers, but not what I really wanted to do. And it actually took me like 4 years of school to figure out by my grad school year that was really what I wanted to do, was work in athletics. And, it kind of propelled me to, I've been at a Division III school, Division II school, and now here at an Ivy League Division I institution. So I've been pretty lucky that I've been in all 3 divisions in very unique institutions, all, different in their own way, but all very fun to be a part of. So really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Your story is a great representation of how the learning doesn't stop. I know students are like, oh, well, I can't wait to go to school. I don't have to deal with any stuff anymore. You're going to have to keep on learning, or you're going to be in a tough spot. You just don't have to listen to people like me anymore. Danielle, how about you?
So my name is Danielle. I graduated in February 2019 from Johnson & Wales, originally from Long Island, New York. My plan for college was to stay up north for school, and that all went to the wayside pretty late into my senior year. I was really lucky. Our coach down at the Charlotte campus kept calling me and asking me to come play for them. So I got to play soccer in college. I was part of the inaugural team, which was a really cool experience in itself. And kind of like Anne, I picked SCE as my major, not really knowing what that entailed or what I was going to be doing, but I knew that I didn't want to be away from sports when I was done playing. And doing different jobs in college and different internships, I learned that I didn't want to do weddings, didn't like that, didn't really want to kind of work in that event space. But I learned, through STAC and a couple of our other professors that I wanted to try the agency life. So I'm currently at Octagon. We're a creative marketing agency down here in Charlotte. And my account's pretty cool. I get to work on a lot of college football, pending the season. But I'm really kind of enjoying it, still fresh in my job and learning a lot every day as we're trying to pivot and adapt to the new environment.
I'm so sick of saying the word pivot.
But that's the word.
I know, but we got to come up with something different. Nathan, that's your homework for the end of the session. I want a new word for pivot. Danielle, Octagon's been well represented. We had panels the first 2 days from Octagon, both from the consulting division with Dee and Evan, some other folks, and from the agency side, from the talent side yesterday. So the campers should be very well versed in Octagon. Thank you for joining. Josiah, you're up next.
Yeah. I'm the old guy in this group. I graduated back in 2014.
Not even that old.
I feel old. In the sports world, I feel old. Let's say, I think it was just kind of like a natural choice for me. Growing up as an athlete, I just kind of always knew that I wanted to work in sports. And I know that this place had one of the best programs in the country. And so it just kind of was a no-brainer. And so I think really from the very beginning, I just kind of was like all wheels on the ground, let's just roll. Like my freshman year, I was doing an internship with the Charlotte Checkers with Longo. I mean, it was just like kind of like a never ending thing for me. And I've always kind of been attracted to that go, go, go mentality. And that's kind of what sports offers. And so that adrenaline has really kind of carried me throughout my career. I mean, from school since 2014, I Started working with the D2 organization, Queens University here in Charlotte, doing some post-grad work, and then, being with them through a national championship, which was really, really cool. And then moving from there, I went to Colorado Springs to work for USA Triathlon, eventually USA Swimming, then the Olympic team for 2016 in Rio. And now I'm a marketing analyst with the Charlotte Hornets. So I've kind of made my rounds across the country, across different organizations, all on the team side so far. But it truly, it's a career for those who have a passion for it. Because I think, the fun side of things is always really, really cool, but I don't think people understand how hard we all really work. And I think Johnson & Wales kind of instilled that in me, is that hard work is really what's going to take you far. And so, there was never any slack. We were always working pretty hard, and always encouraged to work harder and really stand out from everybody else, because I think sports is one of those unique places where everybody wants to do what we're doing, and we have to figure out what sets us apart. And I think having that organization on our resumes is really what does that.
Thank you, Josiah. I mean, you guys can already kind of, for the younger panelists, you already kind of know this, but you're going to be bouncing around a lot, right? Danielle, maybe you won't be at Octagon forever. I'm not trying to get you fired, but
yeah,
that you talk about it, and Josiah's progression, and that's something to know for the students as well. I've had 4 or 5 different jobs. I've never worked anywhere. This is the longest job I've ever had. It's been 4 years. So I think you guys already kind of know that. But that's another insight I think we could share from that too. Nathan, how did you get here from LA?
So, as Professor Stack just said, hi, I'm Nathan. I'm from Los
You just call me or PCZ.
Oh, PCZ? Yeah. So, I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, California, where I'm currently at right now. My freshman year of high school, I took a bunch of aptitude tests that all told me to go into the hospitality industry. Knowing that, I then looked up all schools. Johnson & Wales was always a top 5 school. Decided to do more research. Did a program called Career Explorations, which I don't believe the Charlotte campus is doing anymore for hospitality, but they used to. But I did up in Providence, and I filled out my application there. Saw there was a sports entertainment event management major, which I thought suited me more than hotel and lodging. So decided to follow with that. Then it was just a decision of which camps I wanted to go to. I could do Denver, which was closest, or Charlotte, which was in the middle of the city. All sports were there. So you had hockey, baseball, football, basketball, all within walking distance of the campus. And that's what I decided to do. Graduated August of 2019, and following my graduation, like walking in Charlotte in May, I worked with Octagon out here in Los Angeles for the past year, but due to the whole coronavirus, I was unfortunately let go as a trainee. All the trainees were the first to be let go, unfortunately. But that's allowed me to now continue, and I am currently in the process for applying for law schools. So just took my LSAT last Sunday. So now I just wait to hear back from that and then be moving on from there.
Thank you, Nathan. Yeah, I mean, I think that's also something important to note, and I appreciate your honesty, Nathan. It is a really challenging environment right now for the sports industry, and obviously probably not playing as many events as you otherwise would be. Josiah, the same kind of scenario. So I think that's something to note as well. And Nathan, I appreciate your honesty about it. It's a really hard time for everyone looking for jobs. So that doesn't mean that they didn't have a great experience or they're not qualified to get jobs. It's just kind of a challenging environment. So Nathan, kudos to you. I'm glad I didn't know that you were taking the LSAT. I think you would have stressed me out from 3,000 miles away.
Yeah, I was waiting to see how I did before I came to you.
Smart move. Well, congrats, man. Well done.
Thanks.
Brandon, and then we'll finish with Jillian. Then I want to take a question from Caroline. Go ahead, Brandon.
Hey, everybody. My name is Brandon. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. So how I kind of found JWU is on accident, I guess you can say. So what I did was a little different than everybody else. I actually have it upstairs. I had a folder of all the sports schools I wanted to go to, and they were all huge, big colleges. So Ohio State, USF, Carolina, right? And I had a friend that actually went to Johnson Wales in the culinary school, and it was like, you need to look at Johnson Wales. It's a super small school, but it's home. They have all the sports teams. And at first I'm like, I don't really want to know. I want to go somewhere bigger. So I took a chance. I actually, kind of like Nate, went to the career exploration that they have at the campus, went there, and all the major sports teams were there. It was the Panthers, the Hornets, the Checkers, NASCAR was there. And that's where it really sold me at, right? I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to Johnson & Wales. Told my mom and dad that. I went 20 minutes up the road, but it was home, right? It was everything I wanted here. Graduated in February 2019. Done some great internships. Actually interned with the Hornets in sales. Was a trainee for Octagon. So I've got some really great experience. Met a lot of great people. So right now I was furloughed with the Knights. That's where I was last night, working in sales and services. But it's a pretty tough time. It's not that bad. Kind of like Nate, I'm kind of glad to hear it because I want to talk to him about the LSAT because I'm personally right now not taking it, but I'm taking the LSAT in 2 months. So I'm going to prepare for that. So Nate, I'm definitely going to need your help for that one. I'm transitioning to law school, want to be more of a sports agent. So that's kind of a little bit about me.
Don't do it, guys. Don't go back to school. What have I been telling you? Come on.
Listen, it was always been in the back of my head. I was like, I could be a sports agent. So.
Jillian, last but not least, Jillian Charland.
Yeah, definitely. Hey guys, my name's Jillian. I'm originally from Long Island, New York, same as Danielle, but I've lived in North Carolina for a good part of my life now. My path is probably the most different out of everyone's because I chose Johnson & Wales originally as a baking and pastry major and did the community college route first and all of that good stuff. Was about to graduate community college and do the transfer, and then I realized I did not want to bake cakes for the rest of my life and was lucky enough to find the sports entertainment and event management major at Johnson & Wales. And as soon as I, started learning more about it, I fell absolutely in love. I was able to have a lot of really great opportunities over there, working with the Panthers, working with the Knights, doing some great internships, shadowing different people, learning all about what my possibilities were in this field. I graduated last February 2019. And right after I graduated, I got a job with an agency called Red Moon, also located in Charlotte. And it sent me around the entire United States for almost the entirety of 2019, doing activations for one of their clients. So that was definitely a big adjustment. Unfortunately, it was only a contract position. So at the end of the year, it did end. And then I moved into a trainee position at MKTG, which is an agency located right down the street from Johnson & Wales, actually. I was working in their hospitality and events department, specifically for NASCAR, which unfortunately ended in me getting furloughed. So kind of the same story, hospitality is not super big right now. So unfortunately, that's how that ended. But now I'm doing some marketing for a boat dealership in Mooresville, because I live up in Mooresville. So I've been doing that, helping them with their marketing and just taking some different classes online. I've started learning how to use Photoshop and different editing software to do a little bit of graphic design and just brushing up on, my digital marketing skills to see what's out there in the job market for what's available for me right now. So yeah.
All right, Alana, I think we have a question from Caroline.
Yes. So what makes JWU different from other schools you may have toured or looked at? And is it okay if you start with that?
Sure. So, I've been out of Johnson & Wales for a while. I graduated in 2007, undergraduate 2008 with my MBA. But I work very closely with the Providence campus with internships and, their experiential learning programs. So I think, what stood out at the time, and I think it still stands out compared to other schools, is Johnson & Wales, I think, has such a hands-on learning approach. And it's from day one, when you walk in as a freshman to the day you walk out of there as an undergrad or a graduate student. You really focus on getting you the experience early on so you can figure out what you want to do, whether you like professional sports, whether you like weddings and events, whether you don't like baking and pastry. So, I think what's unique about it and what sets itself apart is how hands-on they are from day one. Whether, when I was there wasn't as much, now the classes seem like they do a lot more, trade shows that are built in, that the class is actually putting on. When I was there, we kind of did it more as a concept. And, you had a group project, and that was kind of where it stopped, where now they're actually putting on a trade show, or they're putting on an expo, or they're, actually putting the event on. I think that really is what makes it stand out, and that your professors there are so knowledgeable. They've had experience in the industry. I think it's hard to find that at other schools where they've actually worked in the industry for, a lengthy amount of time, and they have understanding, but also bringing in, through, alumni panels, the career fair, stuff like that, that it really gives opportunity for students to hear from current, past, students / now colleagues, and hopefully colleagues in the future. So, I think that's really what sets it apart from other schools. And I think they just do a great job of really, in the academic side of it, at least making you aware and giving you some experience of the terminology and, some of the things that you're going to face. I think that was key for me when I started looking into, the industry, that when I got to jobs that I wasn't, necessarily had the experience in, none of the terminology I heard was something that was for the first time. There were things, when they're talking about crowd management, I had a really solid foundation of, the things that went along with that. And, I think that goes a long way when you're first starting out in the industry, that you're not kind of deer in the headlights, trying to figure out everything that people are trying to teach you and show you to be successful at your job. You already have this, really great foundation to start with.
Anybody else want to answer that? What makes Johnson Wales so different? Yeah, go ahead, Josiah.
Yeah, I think the main thing for me was just, and I think Ann kind of touched on this, is just the professors in the school in general. Just they have so many contacts that other people just don't have. I can't tell you the amount of times where I've come to, my Professor Pam Young or Jeff Long or whatever the case may be, and said like, "Hey, I'm trying to get in here." Easily, okay, great, I know someone there. And even having been out of the school for 7 years now, that it's still there. Like they still have those connections. And I think that was a big drawing piece. And like Ann said, they have worked in this industry for so long that their credibility is just so high that I don't think that necessarily every university has that. And specifically within whatever city you choose to go to. I can only speak for Charlotte, but I know that the contacts here are absolutely endless. And if you actually work hard and present yourself, in a well-mannered way, you can easily get that connection. Now, that's not to say that like just because you have a connection, you're going to get the job, but you can definitely get your foot in the door a lot faster, and you can get a face-to-face probably meeting or something a little bit quicker than you could if you were just applying through an online portal without that connection. So for me, it was just having those professors who treated you like human beings. You weren't just a number in a classroom, and they genuinely want to see you succeed, and will use their connections to get you there.
Yeah, I think Josiah, that's a really good point. And it's honestly one of the reasons I like teaching at Johnson Wales is we don't have big classes.
Yeah.
The biggest class that we have in Charlotte that I ever teach is 40 people. Now, if you're in Providence and you take maybe a 101 course, you might have a couple hundred in an auditorium. But the biggest class I've ever taught in Charlotte was 40 students. So where I went to college, I would be in a class of hundreds of people. I never talked to a professor. They never talked to me. There was nothing there. It was go in and come out. And so I think if you're the type of student that wants to know your professors, that wants to know your classmates, you're going to love it. If the kind of person that doesn't want to see the same people all the time, like I think Danielle, I think one term, I know one term I had Lana 3 straight classes. I was their only professor one term. If that's not your thing, this probably isn't the spot for you. But I think the intimacy, I think, is really valued by the students that come here. I guess Lana, so I'm going to try and do some quick hitting questions to really put you guys on the spot. So it's finish the sentence or finish finish kind of fill in the blank, Lana. You, as a student, you will enjoy Johnson Wales if you are blank. So like, I'm trying to get to like the type of student that would like.
Oh, okay.
I just did a good job of leading you there, but
Ambitious.
you would like Johnson Wales as a student if you are boom.
Ambitious.
Boom. Love that. Great.
Yep.
Great.
Do you want me to like elaborate on that?
If you want.
So Johnson Wales has a lot of resources available. We kind of touched on it with our professors that, like Stack are super involved and want to see all of his students succeed. But outside of the classroom, like in our athletics or in other departments, like I've never met so many people that just really want the best for you or anyone. And I toured 20 other colleges before going to Johnson & Wales. So yeah. But yeah, I like to think of myself as ambitious and being able to just go out and find the resources that I needed to be successful, and being able to have mentors like Stack that want to see me succeed. It's just been such a great opportunity. So yes, if you're ambitious, this is definitely the place where you can really shine and do anything you want to.
Danielle Doyle, same question. You will thrive and enjoy Johnson Wales Charlotte if you are blank.
Open-minded. And open-minded to new experiences, meeting new people. I came from New York and moved down south. That was a culture shock in itself. And then on top of that, I met tons of people. I mean, Josiah graduated way before I did, and we worked together, bartended together. So, I mean, other than Ann, everyone on this call, I'm personally friends with, and we're from all over, and I've learned a ton in my personal life, professional life. So I would just say to be open-minded.
Nate, you're next, and then I've got a couple other fill in the blanks.
I mean, they took two really good ones.
You had to go third reason. Come on, you're going to be a lawyer, man. You got to think on your feet.
Yeah. I'd say fearless. There's a bunch of different opportunities that are going to come your way while you're there. For instance, I worked college game day morning when they were in Charlotte. I think it was my either my freshman or sophomore year. I think it was my sophomore year. Early mornings, late afternoons, almost 12-hour days. Had the opportunity to work the All-Star weekend when it was in town in 2019. So being able to just not be afraid to put your name out there, making sure that you are putting in the effort, because professors will notice and they'll be willing to give you more opportunities. And yeah.
Anybody else want to tackle that? And we can move on to another question. Yeah, Josiah.
I want that one. Competitive. Like I said, listen, sports is a great place to be, but it is the most competitive thing that you will ever go for in your career. Everybody wants to do it, but not everyone is cut out for it. So you've got to be able to put forth more than the next person. I can't tell you the amount of days in school where, it'd be wake up at 7 a.m., go to 2 classes, work my shift at the Athletic Student Center, go back to class, go to a club that I was on, you have to be able to, go to my internship that was unpaid. You have to be able to find that grit, and you have to be competitive because, there's someone always on your heel. There's someone younger, there's someone better. You always have to continue to evolve and be competitive. And so if you're not competitive, this isn't it.
So I guess Brandon or Jillian, and then I want to come back to the group for another. What kind of people would not enjoy Johnson Wales? I mean, sometimes the best way to know what you like is knowing what you don't like. Do you remember any other classmates that struggled with something, or even like you have friends who go to other colleges who were like, oh, I wouldn't want to do that?
I would say that's a good one, actually. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Let's see. Pessimist? I can't pronounce it right.
Pessimistic?
Pessimist. Well, not that. That's not the word.
Okay. Sorry.
No, I know the word. It's opposite. It's the, oh my goodness. I'm thinking, what is it? I'll think of another word. If you're closed-minded, I guess you can use Daniel. I can't think of the word right now. But basically, if you're someone that's, to contradict everybody else just said, right? If you're not willing to step out and do things, right? Like after said, right? You got to be competitive. If you're not willing to do all that, if you're not willing to make the connections, you're not willing to stay after, if you're not willing to talk to professors, you're not willing to grow, then Johnson Wales is not going to be the spot for you, right? Like there's going to be opportunities, endless opportunities every day. People are going to come to your school. You're going to have opportunities to go in the city, work, meet people. But if you're not willing to do anything and just go to class and then go back to your room, Johnson Wales is not going to be the spot for you. I can't think of the word right now, but when I figure it out, I'll definitely chime in.
Jillian, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I would just say, like, if you're not like a super flexible person kind of with like your mindset or anything like that, I don't think you would thrive very well. Just because there were a lot of instances where I would get an email pop up in my inbox and be like, hey, like, here's this opportunity, but you need to decide right now. So it's more of a, you know, you want to do this, so you are like, okay, I'll do it. And then you have to figure out how to get it done. It's like when I got the email from Sean Daly from the Denver campus about going to X Games in Minnesota, it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to think about it. Let me see how it's going to happen. It was, I want to do this. I'm signing up. And then figuring out how to make it work afterwards to really go after what you want. So like if you're not willing to kind of change your plans last second, or if you're just someone who can't really adapt to those sorts of things very well, then you probably won't be very successful, especially since those are things that happen in this field pretty much every day. So if you have to be able to I'm going to use your word stack, you have to be able to pivot from one thing to another pretty quickly without getting frazzled, and just being able to handle those changes.
So two good questions in the Q&A. One is kind of related to admissions, and I'll tackle that at the end. So I'll come back to that. Thank you for calling me Peace Teasy, whoever did that. Appreciate that. The other question, and I wanted to bring it to you and Josiah, because I think it's something that makes Johnson Wales, both campuses, unique. They're in urban settings. So if you don't like traffic or paying for parking, like this isn't going to be the school for you. So talk to me a little bit about going to school in downtown Providence, and then Josiah going to school in uptown Charlotte, and the benefits of doing that, and then specifically how that helped you get your opportunities. And you have an interesting perspective because I know you're at Brown, which is also in the area, but it's probably not in downtown Providence the way that JWU is, right?
Yep. So in general, parking is a nightmare. Even at Brown, there is no parking. So, you know, that's kind of, when you're in an urban setting, that's a downside, not a lot of parking. So either don't bring your car or learn how to use public transportation. But, you know, the upside to it is, for me, I grew up outside of Philadelphia, in a suburb of Philadelphia, and it was, you know, it was beautiful. There's not a lot of traffic. You know, the city life, I was very close to Temple University in Philadelphia. It was a place I considered going to school, and I was like, I do not want a city school. I do not like the city life. And then I ended up at Johnson Wales in Providence, which is everything, you know, including a city. So what's unique, I think, or what I loved about Johnson Wales Providence was the fact that it was downtown, it was small, everything was walkable. And that's, I think, a huge piece, you know, that you can walk to you're walking in the city, but you're walking to your classes. You're getting, you know, it's the place, you know, if you were in a suburb, you probably would want to go for a day trip, you know, on a weekend with your friends. But it's right here. And, you know, Providence, we have the Harborside campus, which is, you know, it's outside the city. So you get a little bit less of that, you know, inner city feel to it, because, you know, it's down on the waterfront, just a little bit different than what downtown is. And I spent a lot of time there during my graduate year. So, you know, it was kind of a different scenery for me. And I enjoyed it because, again, it was very condensed. But you know, for me, it took me out of my comfort zone a little bit initially, and I was glad I did it because, you know, here I am, you know, at Brown, where I'm not too far away from Johnson Wales downtown. but it's a little bit more in a residential area, but still very city-like. But before I was at Brown, I went to the middle of nowhere of Vermont pretty much and spent, 2 years in Burlington, Vermont, Winooski at St. Michael's College. And that's very, it's not too far from downtown Burlington, but that's very small compared to, it probably is not even considered a city to most people. So, it taught me to, not be afraid to go to a different location and go somewhere different, somewhere that you're a little bit out of your comfort zone, because, the opportunities are great, when you're willing. It just opens the door if you're willing to kind of step into, a new place, new adventure, new location that you might not be as comfortable in, because there's a lot to offer in these places. So I think for me, it's been a great experience living kind of in the city. It taught me that, I enjoy it more than I thought I would. So, it's, like I said, it's fun because you can walk, you're walkable for everything. As a college kid, that's, to me, it's a lot of fun to be able to do that with your friends when you go out, when you're just, walking to class. It's just a different environment, but, a fun one, in my opinion.
So Josiah, clearly I think you would, so one of the questions was like, did having access to these sports organizations help you get a job? And I think clearly the answer is probably yes, considering like you're working for an organization that literally has the same address on the same street. It's 333 East Trade Street. We're 333. I'm sorry, that's my, never mind. But it's on the same street, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me about just going to school, like the other stuff around going to school in an urban setting. Like what else did you get to take part in apart from just the connections to the organizations?
Yeah, I mean, I think, kind of echoing Ann, being able to, and I know for the first half of my college experience, I didn't have a car. So being able to walk to whatever I needed to do or wanted to do was a big player in what I did do. But I think, I can remember walking to every interview, every internship, every game. I walked everywhere. I was probably the most fit I've ever been in my first year and a half in college. Probably should get back to that. That's a whole other story. But just like having the accessibility of being able to get to all of these places. It's basically everything's on one street, basically. Uptown Charlotte, we're a big city, but it's also small. Nothing is far away when it comes to specifically sports teams. So having that access to get to those places and have those opportunities. I volunteered at countless events. But wouldn't have been able to do that and have that experience had I not been able to walk there. The Dr. Pepper ACC championship, all those kinds of things happen a few steps away. And I think that is another really cool piece about JWU Charlotte is no one else really has access to those kind of experiences. And especially for those, a lot of kids aren't, blessed to have a car as soon as they get to college. I think that's kind of a tough thing. And so that can limit a lot of people depending on where you go. But being in Uptown Charlotte and being offered those experiences a few steps away, I think is invaluable, honestly. I don't even think you could put that on a brochure. You have to honestly just experience that access. And it was a game changer for me. I literally tried to do as much as I could. But even outside of just working, having fun was easier because everything was closer. You could see the Panthers Stadium from my dorm window. No one can say that. You know what I mean? Unless you went to JWU Charlotte, no one can say that. And I can guarantee you there's not many other campuses around the U.S. where you can see, your NFL stadium from your dorm. So, just stuff like that just made the experience so cool for me. And just having so many friends and colleagues who worked, there. I think the Panthers is the one sports team in Charlotte I haven't worked for. But I think just having all of those experiences as a whole is just kind of what made it even better on top of, academics and connections.
Thanks, guys. We're going to be closing up shop here in about 10 minutes. But Danielle, I wanted to kick it to you. We've talked about access to physical places. It is kind of cool. You can literally see the stadium and the practice field is right next to the dorms.
Yeah.
But that's access to those facilities and venues and resources. But it's also access to these professionals that come into our classrooms, are a part of the educational experience. There's a term we use, experiential education. I'm going to kind of go around table here. Danielle, is there a specific professional organization or individual that you appreciated the most or liked the most as part of like your in-class experience that you got to be a part of? And then Nathan, Brandon, Jillian gonna do the same thing.
That's probably the hardest question you've asked us this entire time.
You probably you looked bored first off, so I wanted to challenge you.
Didn't
And
look
you
bored.
challenged.
No, I mean, there
Like
was,
a specific project or something like that was kind of fun to work on, or like a presenter.
I think probably one of the best projects I worked on and helped me get the job I have now at Octagon was in our sponsorships class. We actually had to create a pitch, and we had to convince Stack, of all people, to invest the property's money into our sponsorship. So it was kind of hard because we had to think of an activation and a budget, and I had no idea what I was doing. It was a lot of guessing and figuring it out, and
And now you kind of do that now.
And I do that now. But my writing assignment for my position at Octagon was to do exactly that. So it helped because I'd already had the experience. I took my first run at it already, got really great feedback the first time around. So the second time, it was even better than the first time. And now, like, yeah, I write those presentations all the time. And now it's like second nature. So I think that really helped me kind of jump into my career.
Nate, how about you?
I've got a few different answers, but they go in different paths. First is the most entertaining. Well, that's the thing is because you mentioned projects, you mentioned guest speakers, and so
Pick one, Nate.
pick one. Negotiations class. Probably the final assignment we did, which is each of us had our own individual.
I froze. Oh no. So excited to give his answer. Oh no, this is so sad.
Now
He's
we'll
frozen
never
for you
know.
guys too, right? Brandon, can you
All right.
step in?
I'll go. So mine,
Earned and still using it today.
I'll go ahead, Nate.
Oh yeah, thanks. Great comment, Nate. Thank you.
What? Oh, did I just lag out? Did I lag out?
You were
Bad
frozen
Wi-Fi.
the entire time. Yeah, it was almost like perfect timing. It was just as about you start, and it was just as like, and that was what was great for it. It was unbelievable.
Cool.
But sorry, no, the interview was great. And it's helped you. That's what it was. Thanks,
Yes.
Nate. Sorry about that. I know we're making fun of you, but it was funny.
So mine was definitely my sales and sales class for me, because that's what I've interned in. That's also what I worked in with sales. So for me, it was really hands-on. What I did in class is actually what I did on a day-to-day basis working, right? So for me, it was a smoother transition for most people that work in sales, not taking those classes, not understanding kind of what the lingo is, how to position yourself from, people versus physicians. So for me, that was the class. For me, that was really, the best one. Because like I said, it was for me. I learned that in class, and I did exactly what I learned in class, in my sales class, that helped me where I was with the Hornets and the Knights in sales.
Jillian?
I'm really surprised that none of you guys mentioned the forum. Like that honestly for me was the biggest, because being one on the inaugural committee for the forum was huge, because
Explain what that is for our campers that don't know what the forum is. I haven't had the pleasure of attending yet.
Yeah, so the professional development forum is something that Stack came up with.
We came up with
But
our ideas.
It was Stack's brainchild, and we all brought it to life together. But it is an entire day for everyone in the sports, entertainment, and event management, the SEE part of the forum. And we had professionals come in from all the different sports teams and lead breakout sessions. We had panels on different topics. There was a job fair. It was an entire day. You'd start at 8 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning, go the whole day until 3 or 4. There'd be networking opportunities. You'd learn about interviewing tips, and just we did start at 6, but the attendees did not start until around 8 o'clock, which was good for them. And it was just a really informative day to get some exposure to all the different types of organizations that there were around us, whether it was sports, whether it was entertainment, event management. And it was just really good for the students to be able to kind of see that in one concentrated area. So then going through and planning it all, we had, our different committees where we handled, the professionals that were going to come in, and we did everything from inviting the professionals and keeping them updated on everything that was going on up until the event, doing graphic design and creating programs and doing the check-in lists that for some reason were just the bane of all of our existences, but we did it. And then we went ahead and did it another year. And it's something that, kind of is part of our legacy at JWU now as they continue to have this event for the students every year.
Thank you, Jillian, very much. Yeah, it's like a camp, Sports Biz Camps, guys, but for one day and just for everyone that attends Johnson & Wales. It's a fun event. And once again, part of what we try to do, which is experiential education and practical experience, and talked about it at the outset, is the professors you're going to have here did something in industry before they came and spoke, became a professor. That's what I did, and that's what a lot of the folks in the SCEM department have done. So I did want to kind of address a question from an anonymous attendee regarding kind of the COVID-19 adjustments. To my knowledge, and I'm just a professor, I should know more, Johnson Wales already kind of has a different type of optional test requirement, I think, for attending prior to COVID-19. I imagine it's the same type of process as well. So there's usually not an ACT or an SAT requirement. And that's due in large part to about half of our students being culinary. You don't need to take the SAT or the ACT if you're going to be a chef. It's not super relevant. So I think that's a big reason. And I would imagine you're going to see that continue to go forward, especially dealing with the COVID-19 setback. So I think that's something important to note as well. I did want to kind of close the loop and maybe go around round robin real quick. Then I want to say a couple closing words, but and one word to describe your Johnson Wales experience.
I'd say memorable. I mean, I've been out for like 10 years now, and it's still, I feel like I was just there. So it shows you how impactful that place is, how impactful it's been on my career, my journey up to this point.
Josiah, one word.
Exciting. A lot of great things happened in my time there. The people that I met there are still some of my best friends. It was just a really exciting time in my life and career. So, yeah.
Nate, no freeze. One word, buddy.
Experiential. Get a bunch of different experiences and opportunities that you wouldn't get at any other school.
Awesome. Brandon?
Rewarding. You put the work in, you're gonna receive it, right? So I would definitely say rewarding.
Danielle?
I'm gonna use 2 words: life-changing.
Well, there you go. I like that.
Yeah, I just made my best friends and learned a lot and keep learning. So.
Thank you, Danielle. Jillian?
I would have to say enlightening, just because I learned so much about myself, so much about this industry, and really proved that I'm capable of a lot more than I thought I was going into it, and continue to, bring that new confidence with me throughout every aspect of my life.
And last but not least, Lana.
Fun-busy. That way it's one word.
I think that's one thing I'd want to say in closing. And one of the reasons that I love teaching at Johnson Wales is our kids work. They like work. They like to hustle. Like in college, and everyone that's in here, apart from Ann and Josiah, I know this. Like I just went to class and I went out and had fun. Like our students, I'm sure, do that. I don't know about how that works. But I know when they're not doing that, they're working, they're volunteering, they're interning, and that's what they love about it, is that the university allows them to get involved. If you just want to come to class and that's all you're about, like you can come here, but we just don't know how much you're going to like it. And if you want to blend in and not have your faculty know you or want to support you, like you just might not be the place for you. Like I'm going to know who you are, and you're going to see me all the time, and we're going to walk down the street and it's going to say hi. You can't blend in. You're going to stand out. But if you appreciate that, you want that support, you want to get to work, you want to take advantage of all the resources around you, either in Providence or in Charlotte, and you have an aspiration to establish a career, this is definitely the place for you. I can't thank everyone enough. And it was really a pleasure to meet you, Josiah. Great to see you again. All my former students, you guys make me so proud on a daily basis. Hang in there. Furlough is temporary. You all know my story about when I graduated. You know what that's all about. And look how I turned out, right? So we're going to have a couple lawyers out of this group. I can't tell how proud I am of you guys, how much I appreciate your time. Daniel, thank you so much. Nathan, Brandon, Lonzo, Jillian, awesome stuff. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Everyone.